honestly, if I would even have kept playing violin, because playing with other people and being conscious of other people, I think that's important for an orchestral musician or a chamber musician, and if I hadn't been in the youth orchestra program, I wouldn't have had any of that.
There had been no talk about a youth orchestra, and here comes this man from out of town, out of the country actually, to say this city needs a youth orchestra. When Ezra Rockland set out to create the youth orchestra, that was not an ordinary thought.
It started in 1965, and Ezra Rockland was then the conductor of the Fort Worth Symphony, and he engaged John to be his assistant, and John was just a young lad right out of college.
It was the reason I pursued a career in conducting. It was the reason that my philosophy of what I would do with my entire life actually was to develop instead of focusing on my own conducting career.
I joined the Fort Worth Youth Orchestra in 1969. I had done UIL solo contest, and a cellist from the Fort Worth Symphony, Harriet Wolt, was the judge that year. And unbeknownst to me, apparently she went back to Fort Worth and called John Giordano and said, oh, there's a violinist in Denton that you really ought to get in your orchestra. And oh, by the way, we're going on a trip in about 6 weeks.
They went on their first international tour in 1969, and Leopold Stokowski was the guest conductor. It was quite an experience. The Fort Worth Youth Orchestra, they chose 4 youth orchestras from the United States to participate in this festival in St. Moritz, Switzerland. You can imagine the honor and the excitement that stirred in this community.
There I was, a few stands back in the first violins in the International Youth Orchestra conducted by Leopold Stokowski. And I remember my parents who were there, my mother just took me by the shoulders and looked at me and said, remember this, you need to remember this.
We've been in this building for 41 years, and it's been a wonderful thing.
Well, since I live close, I would often drive by. One day I drove by, and there was a for sale sign. So I called John Giordano and asked him if he would meet me over here.
When it was purchased in '74, the Fort Worth Symphony, this was their home too. But however, the property was deeded to the Fort Worth Youth Orchestra at that time.
Typically, organizations for youth struggle to find the facilities in which they can participate. I think this was unusual that a youth orchestra would essentially own the facility which was going to serve the older symphony, as it has, and a great many other organizations as well.
When I see young people carrying their instruments to come into our doors, I do see the future of classical music on a weekly basis, and it's thrilling to watch.
As you think about those youngsters, no matter how long they were with the orchestra, they all took away an interest in music, which I believe became an important factor in their lives.
I can safely say that my experiences with the Fort Worth Youth Orchestra were absolutely critical in helping to form me as a professional orchestra musician.
Being in the Fort Worth Symphony was sort of a goal as I was growing up, and made it once I was in college and got to play with the greats.
Music at a young age develops skills and levels of thinking that no other discipline can do.
Young people that have the skills and wish to continue developing those skills can work their way up from a beginning level. We have 4 orchestras, and when they get to the top orchestra of 100 students, they're playing full orchestra scores. We have a Suzuki strings program, and this past year we have opened up a early childhood music program.
I've seen these young people apply for scholarships to universities that they never would have been able to have received. I've seen them go on tours to foreign countries, which is, just unheard of for some of these young people.
Being able to play in a foreign country and having a foreign audience all bond universally over just music really changed my life.
The youth orchestra depends heavily on is the quality of its music director.
We've only had 7 conductors in 50 years. I think that speaks volumes for an organization.
Maestro Gutierrez is powerful at expressing a real love for music and a real excitement about music.
When you get to know him and into his mindset, you can see that he really likes to make change in these kids' lives.
I treat them like any other group of musicians. I expect for them to give me their best, and I think that has been very positive in the development and the growing of quality of the youth orchestra program.
I love the music that Dr. Gutierrez chooses for us. The repertoire is such a high level. It's just amazing pieces the professional orchestras play. We'll play something one week and then go hear the Fort Worth Symphony play it the next, and that's a really neat experience.
That's the heart of it, that it became a means of getting youth into the mix, which hadn't been true earlier on.
Seeing the board operate lets you know how much the community cares and supports what you're doing.
Some of the faces that this organization is associated with that are so dear and have really given their lives to youth orchestra. I mean, there's Willa and June, of course, Ray and Betty, who just retired. But Frida Wise was the longtime general manager, and then during my transitions when Frida retired, and I believe it was Susan Baer came on.
To me, the most instrumental person was Betty Utter. Betty literally dedicated her life to the youth orchestra.
It could not have happened were there not people who were prepared to provide assistance.
I think when you show children that you're interested by your giving, then you're showing them that you are interested and want them to continue with what they're doing.
Getting the word out to Fort Worth and getting these people in to support our programs, that's our biggest challenge.
Individuals must step up to the plate. We are here and we need community support because this orchestra supports the community and is an ambassador for this community, as it turns out, worldwide.
My hopes for the youth orchestra are that it continues to represent, number one, represent the highest artistic level of music making that can possibly be achieved by young people.
Possibilities in the future around that might be that we will get a better building, that we grow in numbers, that we have more money to offer scholarship to all of them. But musically speaking, for me is try to be the best and continue playing the best music.
My dreams for the Fort Worth Youth Orchestra is that there's a continuous, solid and permanent musical relation between the Fort Worth Symphony and the Youth Orchestra.
To begin the 50th celebration this year, we are proud to announce that we have a new partnership with the Fort Worth Symphony, with special thanks to Amy Adkins, Miguel Harth-Bedoya, and Herman Gutierrez. We believe that we are the future of classical music, and that classical music will thrive in whatever community we find our former students.
Being able to live with music, be able to develop such a close relationship with music has definitely been a very important part of my life.